Hey guys, I just wanted to take this opportunity and inform you about our amazing virtual summit called the Game Changers Summit coming up in January 21st, 22nd, 23rd. It features some of the biggest thought leaders and game-changing speakers from around the world. It is for established business owners and entrepreneurs that are stuck, that are plateaued, and are ready to take things to the next level. We're going to give you some new ideas, some new tools, some new tactics, some new strategies. We're going to be going through all of the amazing stuff to do with leadership, to do with marketing, branding. We're going to give you so much great value. It's insane. And guess what? It's free. Yes, that's right. It is free. If you want to take the opportunity and come and join us for the 3-day event, I shit you not, it's going to be one of the biggest, baddest, biggest events in the whole world. So make sure that you click on thegamechangersummit.com and make sure you click on that because it's a free event. You cannot miss it for no love, no money. So I will see you there January 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and we'll see you there. Take care. Bye.
This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by Productivity Authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game Changers audio experience with myself, Adam Strong. And today we have another fun-packed show. And we have a very interesting guest on today. Her name is Branka van der Linden. She is originally from Serbia, but is currently residing in Cyprus. She has 15 years experience in compliance and legislation. And you're probably thinking, oh, is it going to be one of those conversations which is going to be kind of law orientated? Absolutely not. She's a professional trainer. She's actually been sitting on various boards with various associations. She's also a best-selling author. She wrote Play the Game, which you can obviously download and listen to on all good bookstores and whatever it is. Without further ado, Branka, welcome to the show.
Hello, Adam. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the listeners. And I'm very excited about this opportunity and this podcast.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, it's great to have you. I know we've got listeners from all over the world. And today we're going to be talking about some really interesting subjects, guys. I know that over the last sort of couple of sessions, we've been talking a lot about integrity and stuff. And I just thought to myself, I was like, so how can we take that conversation further, right? How can we take it to the next level? And now Branka, she specializes in a particular industry, and she's also a consultant with startups as well. And she loves talking about ethics and values, which I think is really very much closely aligned to integrity as well. But I wanted to sort of open the first question up, if I may, and talk a little bit about values and beliefs, because I'm a real big pro when it comes to values, personal values, company values, all that kind of stuff. But let's talk a little bit about values and beliefs, and how does that relate to business, and how does it affect business as well in relation to that? So maybe if we could start with that would be fantastic.
Excellent, Adam. Yes, today is International Anti-Corruption Day. And with that in mind, and talking about our topic, which is dichotomy between beliefs and values, and what happens when behavior is different. Yeah, let's take it from the beginning. Like, what are the beliefs that we have? Where do they come from? What is the belief? And that's trust or a faith, how we call it, or simply having confidence in something or in someone. Those are the convictions, and we take it that what we accept is the truth, and usually the absolute truth. And then yet we know that the truth is not really just black and white. And beliefs, they influence our values. So when we come to values, we talk about principles and ideals, and what is ideal in this non-idealistic world, and about our standards of behavior, because values influence our behavior. And how does that relate to business? What happens when a business has to bring tough decisions, and when our morale and our private ethics, our personal ethics, are in conflict with business ethics? And this is what I wanted to emphasize today. How does it connect to business? Well, let's take a simple example. It's a tough time. COVID-19 has put the most adversity on many businesses. And then what do you do when you need to make tough decisions? We all had scarcity in income. A lot of businesses had to shut down, to close. We were under lockdown. And for example, if you would have to now support other business when the money is tight, what do you do? How do you make your decisions? And I think that's relatable not only to big businesses, but also to small family-owned businesses, even more. Agreed. And entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, yes. And a tough decision when it comes to corruption, this abuse of power and using a position for a personal gain, or when we talk about fraud and deception and false representation of facts. What happens when it's time to let clients go?
It's a good question, because I think it's something that, especially with people on Clubhouse, when we have conversations on Clubhouse and we talk a little bit about, I'm a big belief that, well, I have a lot of beliefs that there'll always be a shelf life in working with a client. Yes, we want to work with clients over longevity, but for whatever reason, whether it be let go of a staff member, let go of a client because they don't, align to where we're going in terms of our vision, there has to be this kind of what I call a symbiotic relationship, or this similar synergy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When we talk about loyalty and fairness, and when we catch ourselves that we end up working with clients that don't have the same principles and they don't have the same standards, we need to let them go. Otherwise, we have this cognitive dissonance that I talked and mentioned before in about impact not that it only has on our business, but on ourselves as persons. Like, how do you sleep at night? What happens with your mental health and your physical health when you're doing something that it's in conflict with your own values and beliefs?
It's interesting, because I know that there are some businesses out there, and I'm not going to say, people that are listening in, but there are some businesses out there that have, that run a business in a way that I think is unethical. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure that some of us have been scammed in our life, or have done business with maybe somebody else and it didn't work out for whatever reason, and they feel like they've been scammed, or they feel like they've been it didn't have what it said on the tin. They said that they were going to do like X delivery. I was going to deliver the results, but they didn't do what they said that they were going to do. What's your take on this? Because I think that it's becoming all too common in the business world, and it really pisses me off. And I get a lot of I get a few businesses that come to me and they're like, hey, Adam, I'd love to work with your consultancy company, but we've just worked with this company and they ripped us off and I don't know what to do. And then there's this kind of like distrust, and then it makes the good guys look really bad because it kind of puts them in the same type of box. So what's your take on this? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, excellent topic. Well, corruption and fraud, they erode trust, and you're straight to the point there. But it also hampers economic development. And if I think a little bit back, I was a victim myself. I mean, I have so much experience in compliance and catching the bad guys. And always when I look at the e-commerce, I read terms and conditions. And if there is no privacy policy and there's no disclaimer and there's no terms and conditions that are providing for the contact with the proper address and company number, etc., I usually don't go through purchase. But during the COVID times, with everything being e-commerce and we constantly being bombarded with all these offers, sometimes it happens that you misread a certain sign, and then you pay the shipping fee and the goods never come. And then 45 days later, the PayPal notifies you that the case is closed because you or they didn't respond or escalated to a claim. So it's on one hand, it pisses me off too. But on the other hand, we have to stop playing victims and taking decisions in our own hand and being responsible of what we're doing. Because nobody pushed us and talked us into pushing that button and saying yes to purchase on a Visa card, let's say, or working with a particular company. So we need to do our due diligence. We need to do a background check, just like when you're hiring a new employee. What will you do naturally? Yes, you will read their CV, you will look if they have a LinkedIn profile, and then you'll probably also call for references from a previous employer. So why don't we do that when we are buying something online, or when we're acquiring a new service from a new company? Look who they are, look at their values, look at their code of conduct. Do they have one even on their website? Who is the board of directors? What is their social media footprint like? So there are things that we can do ourselves that can help us to do this due diligence, to be more secure and not to be victims of either fraud or to be involved in the corruption, even if we are not aware of it.
You know, it's a good point you make there. And also the other thing that, which I think can actually be created off the back of that, is that when people have been in that position, right, is then they start to suffer from analysis by paralysis, because then they get stumped of the decision-making process. And because they've been stung and they've got this distrust with people, business, whatever it might be, and then they start criticizing, or maybe hyper criticizing about their own internal beliefs, but also their, well, not just about their belief systems, but if they're actually going to make that, they're scared of making the wrong decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but Adam, let me ask you something else. You used to be a pro athlete, and you train and you're a personal trainer to so many people that are like really in high-end sport. And what happens if you subscribe to the gym, but you never go to practice?
I mean, nothing. I mean, you're 30, 40, 100 quid worse off, I guess, every month.
Excellent. Yeah, but that's the same with ethics. It has to be a conscious and persistent effort, and has to be a training. It has to be in practice. It's not something that you read about. Yeah, we have the law of behavior for organizations, which is business ethics, which is taught at business administration at schools. But everyday ethical dilemmas that we have, we need to practice on them. There are case studies, there are best practices and scenarios, and it's training just like a mental training or a physical training of any other.
Yep.
It needs to be implemented in our everyday life.
Yep, I agree.
And I believe in lifelong learning, so this is the part where the ethics come in as well.
Definitely. Now, moving on to sort of a different subject, because I know that you do a lot of consulting with startup companies in particular. Talk to a little, I don't know what your take is on this, but with regards to if you have staff members and they may have, I don't know, they may have said something on social media which might have put the company at jeopardy or damaged their brand or whatever it is, or maybe, you know, maybe what they've said is just completely out of line. I'm sure you've come across this many times before, but I guess, you know, as a business leader or whatever it might be, having those difficult conversations, how do you deal with those types of people? Do you let go of them? I'd love to know more about the process, because I've never been in that position before, by the way, but I know that some of our listeners may have been in that position before. What's your take on this?
Yeah, again, I'm in business of breaking patterns and just expanding perspectives. And you always need to look from both angles. Yes, I have been an employee, and I know this and this side of the coin, but I'm also an entrepreneur who has employees, and I always give it the benefit of a doubt. However, sometimes people are, well, call it naive, that they do not understand quite what the expectations are, and where is this fine line between freedom and free expression and professionalism and professionality at work. So how do you respond to that? I had a case when we were hiring for a corporate client, a person who's supposed to be their PR. Okay, very well educated lady, the best schools. She was well presented, well spoken, and had a vast network. And then yet, if you would go to her social media, you will have a Facebook video with her doing pole dancing.
Pole dancing.
So, a pole dancing, and not in a athlete training way sense. So then, what do you do? I mean, this is this dissonance between belief and behavior. we are taught one way, but you cannot do a PR in that way. I mean, you can, but whether it's going to be a bad publicity, that's another story.
Depends on the company, I suppose.
Indeed, yes. But anyhow, when I look at it from the other angle, is that do we have a clear written instructions for our employees? What are do's and don'ts? What do we expect from them in their private life, in their private media? Because let's say big companies, they will give you this employee agreement, which explicitly says, when you speak publicly, you speak on behalf of the company in your personal time as well. So whatever you do represents the company as well. But in the small businesses and with entrepreneurs, that kind of is not such a straight line. It's a gray area. So yeah, before firing employee or letting employee go for their misbehavior on social media, let's first put it into context. Why it was done, how it was done, and did they even know that that's a bad behavior? Or is that in their eyes as bad as it is in yours? Because the tastes are different, the culture is different, the values are different. So let's talk about the principles and ideals on the same line. We cannot compare apples and pears.
Right. But also, I know we're living in strange times right now, and I think that it also divides attention with what's going on in the world. And it's a fine line, maybe it's a gray area, but it's a fine line between what a company believes or a company owner, whatever it is, and what the employee believes in. And there might be some sort of conflict, right? And that's where conflict really, creeps up, because they have their opinion, freedom of speech, that kind of stuff. And then the values and integrity of the company, because you represent them or whatever it is, also have their beliefs as well. So I think what you've highlighted, it is a very gray area, but I think what you've also highlighted is the importance of making sure that there is some sort of agreement. I think that's what you're saying, is there needs to be some sort of agreement out there that says, this is what we expect from you, and this is what you will expect from us. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is. And I always stress that just because we think we are right about something or know that we are right about something doesn't mean that the other side is wrong. Okay, there are different perspectives. I mean, I can ask you now to take a piece of paper and write number 6 on it, and then I can ask you to swap it, and then rotate it 180 degrees, and what you see then, it will suddenly be a 9. So when we are looking from different points of view, we need to give benefit of a doubt to the other one, that they are not derogatory on purpose. But yes, agreement should be laid out, and this agreement should be very specific. And when we give a clear instructions on the roles and expectations from the other person, whether an employee, a business partner, or a services providing company, then it's much clearer and better to function and to collaborate. But other than that, let's just say that no matter the freedom of speech, you should always treat and speak to other ones with respect.
100%. Definitely. 100%. Definitely. Here's a thought, because I know that some of our listeners, they're also in kind of what I would call startup mode or whatever it is. And I know that, there are companies out there that are building IP, for example, intellectual property. And again, maybe this kind of, I suppose, mindset, you could call it a mindset or whatever it is, perception of people are going to steal my ideas. NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. When should one have one in place? What should it have in? When should it be presented, and who should it be presented to?
Okay, fun fact. Number 1, a question that the startups ask is, how do we get investors to invest in our startup?
Right.
Number 2 fact is that they ask, do we need to give the investors to sign the NDA first? Okay, and then again, because I do have a circle of investors, and sometimes we also chat about these things, and they say, startups come across as arrogant, asking as a first thing to sign the NDA, because let's face it, there are thousands similar or same ideas in the world.
Yeah. And
ideas cannot be patented. It's the execution of the idea that matters.
True.
Who comes first to the market, who is more agile, who is more lean, etc. So when you approach somebody and asking to sign the NDA, you need to have a clear understanding of why you're doing it and where that NDA can be enforceable. because just a piece of paper saying, I, Branka, will not disclose what are the tricks and tips of Adam making his podcast are not going to go a long way in the court, or for that matter, in any other business to prevent other people making podcasts, right?
Yeah, sure.
So yes, for the startups, think, obviously, if you have invested tons of money into patent and you have something that is like really intellectual property, by all means, ask for the NDA. But first, ask the investor of their interest and try to understand them and their position, behavior, before you just come and say, sign the NDA, and then I show you what I've got. You know, like there is a dose of humility that needs to be there when we talk with investors, because at the end of the day, yes, they want sustainability, they want maybe to support sustainable development goals, but they also want to make their profits.
It's interesting because I think it also can create an immediate barrier to communication, you know, open communication and transparency. If you've got a potential candidate who wants to come in and throw some money at your business or idea, whatever you want to call it, and you're saying, oh, you know, yeah, we can have a conversation, but you need to sign my NDA. I think they're gonna just
yeah, it puts them off.
It puts them off. It's like, why? I don't even know you, right? So, but it's a good question. I think it's something that doesn't really get discussed actually here, which is really interesting. Let's talk a little bit about culture, because I know that you do a lot of consultancy, but also you do a lot of professional training with leaders, with corporate companies alike. And for me, company culture, which I think is, you know, fascinating. I love talking about company culture and DNA and that kind of stuff. How does one go around embedding ethics and values in culture? Where should companies and businesses begin, and when should they start doing it?
Yeah, there are again two perspectives here, because we say that you know, this company culture, it has to come, and tone has to be set from the top. So tone from the top, you'll hear a lot about it these days.
Yeah.
And yet there is something else also called tone from the family, because the family, yeah, exactly. We all have parents, or we had parents.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we first learn as what's right, what's wrong, what's moral, what's immoral, comes from the family.
Okay.
And there's this thing, like, for example, children that have the parents that have children that are in age that they can start helping with house chores, okay, and helping around the house. And what happens is that often we catch ourselves saying, okay, do me a favor. And with these particular words, do me a favor, take out the laundry out, or pair these socks together, or put the dishwasher on. And then after they perform this particular chore, they get their pocket money. So communicating that do me a favor and then you will get the money is okay, comes all the way to the top when we become politicians and we accept bribery to do certain favors, or yeah, so tone from the top, but also tone from the family. Yeah, we need to cultivate this culture from the beginning of ethical behavior, and to understand that it's not only somebody else's problem and somebody else's business, but it's each and one of us that can do something to contribute to ethical behavior. And when we talk about business ethics, like how do we set this company culture? It has to be communicated, but it also has to be written down. It needs to be laid out somewhere. And yes, these beliefs needs to be consistent with behavior. You cannot preach something on company paper and code of conduct and yet being caught doing totally different thing when it comes to business, like cutting corners in business, or being unfair to your competitors, or even you know, using like inside information for own benefit, for your own business benefit. Because at the end of the day, the only sustainable business will be ethical business.
Yep, love it. When we talk about ethical businesses, because, you know, it's interesting, because I remember going through these phases of listening to so-called companies that say, oh, we're an ethical business, we're a sustainable business. And it really drives me crazy, because when you look at them deep down, they're no more ethical than any normal company, really. But what, from your perspective, if people are listening to you right now and they're thinking, oh, this conversation sounds interesting, right? Yeah, I'd like to build a company or build a business which is based on ethics, values, and beliefs, right? What is the difference between a ethical company and a non-ethical company? Like, how should we be seen? Like, what do we need to do? What connections do we need? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a funny story I have. I used to not drink coffee really.
Okay.
And then
really?
after I had my, yes, really, for a long time. And then after I had my second child, I got as a Christmas gift an espresso machine. All right. And I'm by no means promoting espresso here, nor I'm paid to do so. But yes, I got hooked on it and I loved it. And before that, I didn't really particularly know who George Clooney is. But after that Nespresso advert, it had a different perspective. And why I'm mentioning this is just to emphasize something about ethical and non-ethical behavior, because Nespresso is a huge company, Nestle. I mean, they have a conglomerate business and they're in many sectors. And what happened some time ago, they were accused and there was a suspicion of them using coffee beans from unethical sources. Including child labor for collecting this coffee. And what they did, they actually had a stock deficiency, a lack of deficiency of a particular coffee brand. I won't say the name. And they didn't replace it with something else. They were looking to find more ethical source to be able to get that same quality. Otherwise, they just discontinued that particular product. That's ethical business. And I'm sure it costed them a lot, because every second day when somebody goes and buy an espresso coffee, they're asking for this particular flavor. So yes, we need to choose whether we are gonna make our profits, or we are also gonna think about our business impact on the environment. And when I talk about environment, I don't mean only about the nature and pollution, but I also talk about the social aspect of it and people that we affect their lives with our businesses.
Some good points there. And I think, I don't know about you, but I like to support companies that are kind of what we call, say, fair trade. You go into Whole Foods or a supermarket and you're like, oh, it's all fair trade. I don't know if it really is fair trade. It's got the stamp of approval, so I'm assuming it is fair trade. But I suppose it's kind of also this like societal responsibility of, I want to be seen as good and feel good and that kind of, do you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, Adam, you touched there a very important aspect is I talked recently about, because again, Anti-Corruption Day today, we talked about perception of the corruption. So the corruption perception index is done by Transparency International every year, and it shows the countries from 0 being the most corrupted to 100 being the best behavior, according to the perception of the people, of the lay people, of the citizens. Mm-hmm. So we need to stop talking about the perception of the corruption and start talking about real corruption, because I see many businesses, they try to change that perception with their corporate social responsibility campaigns, advertising, marketing, and yet the corruption itself is not tackled. So yeah, just having the stamp fair trade does not mean necessarily that the company is doing the fair trade. So we need to look a little bit deeper and really be curious and let's say just look whether that really stands, whether it's real, whether it's true. And as I said, our beliefs go a long way about the trust and faith and having confidence in a particular business.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, listen, it's been a fascinating conversation and I've really enjoyed some of our conversations. So I just want to say thanks very much for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Adam, for having me.
So guys, if you would like to contact Branka, please do so on her social media links below. You can do that by clicking, by just scrolling down and you can see that. And if you've loved our episode from today, and in fact, any of our episodes, then please do us a favor, give us a 1 or a 5-star review, whichever you prefer. And I will be, it's super appreciated And that would be great. Listen, have a fantastic day, week, month, whenever you're listening to this. And enough from me and Branka. We'll see you again soon on the Game Changers Experience. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening into today's show. I hope that you have enjoyed today's show. Just a reminder, we love creating this amazing podcast show. It wouldn't be as successful if it wasn't for you guys. So we want to make sure that we would love it if you would be able to reciprocate and write an amazing, whether it be a 1-star or 5-star review. If you're listening to this on Apple, go to Apple on iTunes and go to the Game Changers Audio Experience, leave a 1 or a 5-star review, whichever you prefer. If you're listening to this on Android, whether it be on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and all the good Android platforms, go to podchaser.com. That's podchaser.com and leave a 1 or a 5-star review on there. We'll be extremely grateful. Thanks very much for tuning in. We've got some great shows coming up. Cheers.